Good afternoon, everyone. There's probably many of you that probably have never met me or seen me, but I'm Anthony's business partner. We've been, to give you a little background, Anthony and I have been together since 2011. And that brief background for your benefit is just to give you a feel for our experience and so forth. But Ant and I started in 2011. We ran a traditional financial planning practice with 4 staff as financial planners. 2018, around that mid-teen, Ant started really getting into coding in the back end of Xplan, and that sort of started us on our journey for technology. So, and that's what we're here today about. And we think it's pretty exciting. We think we've really made some significant breakthroughs for advisors on how to, construct or how to run an advice process and how to run a practice more efficiently. And so having done this yesterday, there's a fair bit to get through. So I'm not going to spend too much time on talking about us and what we're doing, but we're here to support you. We're always available. So do reach out if you have any questions. Just for the protocols of this particular meeting here, I don't know, someone's got Marlu AI running on here too. Not sure who that is. They seem to be a competitor of ours these days. How do you feel about that, Ant? Do we want Marlu AI running in this meeting?
No.
Do we care?
I think it's fine. No, I'm all right with it. No. It's
fine. The other thing is that we'll open the chat function. So what we, or is it the Q&A or the chat? I think it's chat, isn't it, Ant?
Yeah, I think it's a chat. Yeah.
So within your Teams meet, you can chat. So what we're going to do is, if you type your questions in the chat, and then when we're running Finley, there'll be moments where I can respond, or Ant and I can respond to those questions you might have. So you can just drop them in the chat there.
Yeah, drop your chats. There's times where Finley is going to go away and the AI is going to do its thing. So we get a couple of minutes of question time where I can answer that while the tech does the AI does its thing.
Yeah, that's right. So let's kick off, Ant. Let's do this. There's a bit of a structure we learned from yesterday. So I think holistically, what we're trying to do here is to, at least to start with, is to break the back of doing an SOA. And so if you think about doing an SOA, it sort of starts with the fact find. And so the first thing that we've started to rebuild, and it's not quite like, well, there is in the iComply2 portal, there is a fact find that you can send a link out to your client and they can fill out their fact find. That is the core data that we need to start with. But we are right in the middle of rebuilding that fact find. So Ant, why don't you jump into that client portal where we can share the screen and show our advisors what that looks like going forward.
Sorry, do you mean the existing client portal?
No, I think those that are interested have probably seen the existing client portal, but we are rebuilding the client portal for everyone that's interested. And we're not just building the client portal for fact find, we're actually building a reporting function in our client portal, which will take data feeds. We've just connected with Desktop Broker, that's Bells as a data feed. We're connected with NetWealth as a data feed. We've connected with Fig as a data feed, and we'll just keep collecting these data feeds. So a client can log into the iComply2 client portal and they can see their portfolios, whether it's in NetWealth or whether they've got assets outside. You can bring them in manually as you see fit. So jump into iComply2 and our Finley app.
Yeah, so this is Finley. It's a slightly different URL to iComply2, so it's finleyai.com.au. I'm going to sign in, and I sign in using my existing iComply2 app login. So if you've got a login to iComply2, you'll have a login to Finley using the same details. Okay, so what you'll notice here straight away, it's very similar to our normal iComply2 client app, where I've got my, traditional advice CRM. So I'm going to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new client, and my dummy client or my example client is Sophie Clark, and I'll assign an advisor to Sophie. Can you hear me, Chris? I don't know if my internet's dropped out.
No, I can definitely hear you, but do we want to record this, by the way, while we're in here? Yes, I'll record and transcribe. Oh, someone's already done it. They? Yes, someone's already done it. That's fine. Go ahead. No, I can hear you, man.
I think I'm back. Okay, so yeah. All right. So I've created a new client, Sophie Clark. As you can see in Finley, it looks very much the same as our existing iComply2 clients app, where it's your traditional advice CRM. So I've got all the fact find details. I've got, all their assets, liabilities, income, expenses, all those sorts of things that you'd expect in a traditional advice CRM. But where Finley changes things is I've got this little Finley icon at the top. And if I click on Finley, I now see what you would think of, what you're used to today as a AI chat assistant or an AI chat model, right? So what I'm doing now is I'm working on Sophie, and I can see other clients that I want to work on. So if I wanted to go and change and work on David and Victoria Beckham, I can just click on the client and then start to work in my Finley workspace. So I'll jump back to Sophie. Before I start working on Sophie, just to give you a bit of context as to what I'm going to upload to Sophie. So I've got a fact find, where a normal fact find, personal details, assets, liabilities, super, cash flow, all those sorts of things you expect to see in a normal advice fact find. And then I've got a meeting transcription. So this is a fictitious transcription of a meeting that I would have had with Sophie as my initial advice meeting. So what I'm going to go and do, just so now you've got context of what's in those documents, is I'm going to go and upload. Firstly, I'll go and upload my fact find. And what Finley does is Finley detects that this is a fact find, and I've got some various information inside this fact find. And what I can do is then click map to profile. And what Finley will do is Finley will extract all the data out of that fact find and then allow me to upload it straight into Finley, right? So I don't have to sit, there's no more sitting there and entering data manually into a fact find now. I just upload the document and then I can apply that to the client profile, right? So all my data from the fact find now is in Finley and is in Sophie's profile. So one of the first things I might do is I could ask Finley, what is Sophie's date of birth? What is Sophie's date of birth? And Finley's going to know, based on that data, that Sophie's date of birth is the 12th of the 5th, 96. So I can start to use and chat to Finley to try and get the outcomes of what I want. I could say to Finley, update Sophie's date of birth to, let's say I've got the date wrong, 12th of the 5th, 1998. Right. And it's going to say I've prepared a plan, so we can update the date of birth for Sophie, and I will click approve and run, and that will go and fix it in the database. Right. So Finley's, because I'm working on Sophie on the left-hand side, Finley knows the context and everything about Sophie, that I can just talk to Finley and we'll be able to do what we need to do. Okay. What I'm going to do next is I'm now going to upload my meeting transcription of my initial meeting with Sophie. So client meeting transcript, I'm going to upload that and then hit close. Now what you'll see is I've got these little pills of the various tasks that Finley can help me with. So one common thing we might do after that first meeting is I need to do an engagement letter. So if I click on an engagement letter, I can now see on the right-hand side an engagement letter that's ready for me to prepare. Right? So I can then ask Finley, update the task to be completed using the meeting transcript notes, right? So I'm going to send that to Finley, and what Finley's going to do is we'll understand the context of that initial meeting, and Finley's going to draft this engagement letter for Sophie for me. So if I just keep an eye on the task to be completed, Finley will update that for us from the meeting notes.
Just pause there for a second, Anne. So typically what Anne is showing you here or demonstrating here is that you might have had a meeting, you've had in that meeting, you've recorded it, you've probably identified some objectives, and that meeting note with those objectives is now going to transport or transfer into an engagement letter. Of course, you can jump into the chat box of Finley and edit that objective or edit at any time, and it'll render on the right-hand side for you. It's just taking that data that you've collected possibly, whether it's in the fact find, whether you've done separate objectives, it's capturing it here and rendering it straight away for you and editable within the app. Play on, Anne.
Yeah, I will persist because it just does seem to be running slow. What is going on? Okay, all right. I might go and I sort of do want to persist with it, but okay, I'm going to go and refresh.
Move on to the next task in case it's
okay.
In case it's stuck in a piece of code.
Yeah, I'll upload that document. I'll upload that meeting transcript again. So okay, so I'll close that. I've got the meeting transcript. I can then, if I wanted to, I can click create file note. Finley will go and open up the file note. You know, I can upload the files. It sort of drafts up a file note for me, and then I can send that file note into Sophie's profile. I might want to then go and create an invoice, right? So I can then go and create an invoice for my advice preparation fees, put my invoice, $3,000, and then generate my invoice out for Sophie. I could then go and, do an annual agreement. So annual advice agreement renders out on the right-hand side. I can then ask Finley, update the fees to deduct a monthly fee of $300 from Sophie's Hub24 Super account, and I'll give it an account number, right? I'll hit send, and that will update the table. And then I can export out this annual agreement to send to the client.
Seems the
so it's done it. Hub24 account.
There you go. There it is.
So I did make yep, and then I export that out, right? I would then export that out, and I'll get a clean annual agreement, which I can then send to the client, right? Okay, so that's the Finley workspace. That's how I sort of upload the documents, and then I can do those traditional advice tasks that I would normally do through a left-hand menu and click around on the screen. But basically bringing all that functionality forward into an AI chatbot, and you just you work within Finley and tell Finley what you want to do.
I think we call it's a console. It's the Finley console.
Correct.
Where you in Finley, and you are now requesting Finley or instructing Finley to do from that chatbot. We'll extend it further. This is pretty raw for us. We've only just sort of been working on this for the last month. We've only just released it this week. we hope you do use it, and we're very interested in the feedback because we can improve it for you, and we see that as obvious on that front. So let's play on, Ant.
Before I go, I'm gonna move to an SOA next. Is there any questions in the Q&A before I go there on?
I haven't seen any. No one's put up any questions at this point.
Okay, cool. All right. So what I'll do next is I'll move into how we actually use Finley to produce a statement of advice. So what I've done, right, I've gone into the IC2 wizards in Finley and gone statement of advice, and I'm going to create a new SOA scenario. So SOA scenario, Finley webinar. Create the scenario. Okay. So I can see on the left-hand side, I'm working within Sophie. The first thing that I would do is upload some documents to Sophie, and I'm going to upload a meeting transcript. I'm going to upload my fact find, and then I've got a product recs report. So for those who haven't used product recs before, you might be familiar with Wealth Solver, where we compare different superannuation investment products and fees and so on. So Finley's been built around product recs. So I think
it's just also important to note there that product recs is a free resource compared to Wealth Solver as a paid resource. So for advisors, you just might make yourself aware of that.
So what I've done, right, is once I've uploaded those files, it's then detected that this is a fact find. It's detected that there's product recs. Products report has been updated and will be used in all our portfolio reporting and detected. So I'm meeting transcript, right? So what I need to do now is I need to give Finley instructions or the SOA request that I want Finley to write for me. So I want Finley to do, and I've got one. Should have had it. Yeah. Okay, so here's my SOA request that I'd written earlier for Sophie. So please prepare an SOA for Sophie. I provide the purpose of the SOA, the documents uploaded, client objectives, the scope of advice included and excluded, any recommendations, fees, important warnings, right? So anything that I want Finley to include in this SOA, I would then go and give that instruction to Finley through the AI chat. I then hit send, right? So what Finley's going to do is Finley's then going to extract all the text, the context out of the documents that I've uploaded, and then start to understand and draft the SOA based on what I've. So this will take a few minutes. Feel free to ask questions while we're doing this.
Haven't seen any questions come through at this point. I think it is worthwhile just stepping back a little bit on what Finley is doing in terms of it's a client portal, it's a CRM, it's also now an SOA drafting or generator. It also has, and we'll touch on this a little bit later, there's projections in there and a full list of projections, which is a replacement of X tools. And so you might start to consider, do you need X Plan or Advisor Logic or Midwinter or wherever you're in? We're not saying that you don't need those, but this is an alternative at what will be a much lower cost. And the other thing that we will do is we'll add a microphone button so you can talk to Finley as well. That's not hard for us to do. We'll bring that functionality in at some point. Question while we're waiting, answer, will Finley accept Excel spreadsheets in lieu of product recs? Yes, is the answer to that.
Yes. Yes, I'm not 100% certain that it will go straight into the product recommendations tables and so on. So that might be something that I'd have to look at upgrading if we were looking at. Finley will extract data out of an Excel spreadsheet. It's just that whether we will map that into the asset allocation tables and the portfolio table, the product comparisons tables, and so on. Right. The way that I've built this at this stage was it's specifically looking for a product recs report and the formatting of all those tables. So it'll get an Excel spreadsheet, but I don't know if it'll map it into.
It's a good question, and we can take it as further development. It's not, as you and I know, Ant, it's not that hard to pick up the code out of the Excel spreadsheet. We had a question from Kerry. If you realise you've left something out of the fact find, it's a good question. For instance, and this causes an error in the SOA, do you just fix it in the fact find and re-upload it and ask it to rerun the SOA?
I haven't got to that yet.
I think, Kerry, you could. The thing is, you can always go back into your fact find and update, and it's a good question. And I would think, practically, you would prompt Finley to say, "Can you please update the fact find and reissue the SOA?"
Yes, you could. If that was the case, you could go into files uploaded, upload the new fact find, and then put map to profile. I'm not 100% certain if that will duplicate.
It's new at the moment, so we don't know. But what Ant keeps referring to is upload. Just be aware that if your fact find's in, I comply to, you don't need to upload it because we'll go and collect it.
Okay. No, so Finley's come back and drafted up this SOA for us, right? So we've got a Finley intake summary, and this is Finley's understanding of a limited SOA for Sophie. We've got 220k inheritance for the first home deposit in 2 to 4 years' time. We're going to review Sophie's Host Plus Super and consider switching to Hub 24 in Vanguard High Growth, and provide advice on outside super income protection. Retain life and TBD in Host Plus. Advice is limited, no crypto, property, all the rest, right? So here's what Finley had picked up as an understanding of the SOA. I then have these little cards of each section of the SOA. So I go through an SOA introduction, risk profile, scope of advice, client objectives and all the rest. And I can see which sections are ready and which sections might need a bit more confirmation. So I can go through and read each of those cards and just make sure that Finley's got all the information that I need. What will happen is, Finley's also going to give me a document review, so an understanding of each of the documents that I've uploaded to Finley, some evidence backing confirmations based on that data, likely advice modules or sections that we're going to use in the SOA, candidate objectives, fees, what still needs clarification, right? So Finley's asked me some follow-up questions before we go and finalise the draft of this SOA. So first, confirm whether you want the SOA to assume a $25,000 or $30,000 emergency cash reserve. And I would say, $30,000 cash reserve. Do you authorise the advisor to prepare a formal rollover instructions to Hub 24? I'll just say yes. Do you want us to progress the illustrative income protection quote to a formal quote? I will say no. I will provide further quotes shortly. Confirm how you would like the advisor fees charged, direct invoice or deducted from the nominated account / platform. So deduct the advice fees from the Hub 24 Super account. Confirm whether you want the first home savers modelled as part of the SOA projections. No, we do not. Was it? Okay, so I've answered all the questions from Finley. I then need to go and update my SOA brief. So Finley will go and update that entire brief that we've done based on the additional information that I've given it. Again, this will take another couple of minutes, and
So
then
we do have a question, Anne, from Richie. Okay, so product recs is an upload as a PDF. Is that right?
It gives you as a Word doc.
It's a Word doc. There you go.
I'm pretty sure you could do it as a PDF too if you saved it as a PDF. It shouldn't make a difference.
Is it worthwhile flicking back to the home page or the front page where our applications are, projections, while we're just rendering, or while this code's passing through?
When you say that, you mean in the client profile here for projections?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do the projections as part of the SOA, because if I do it here, I won't link it into the SOA. So I'll do it from within my SOA builder.
Any questions you want? Anyone in the advisor network want to ask any particular question? Now's a good time. Or waiting for the AI to catch up. Are you running on that same slow machine, Ant? You've got.
Yeah.
If we start using it instead of Xplan, when would we look to get rid of Xplan? It's funny, we had this pretty much same question yesterday. It's about when you feel comfortable that I comply to is a changeover for you. The only solution that we don't have in iComply 2 at this point in time is the risk researcher functionality in Xplan. Now, many advisors don't do risk insurance, so that's not a problem. But that's the only one we don't do. Of course, I say there's a workaround that anyway, unless you are an insurance advisor. There's only really 3 big insurers anymore, and you just get 3 quotes and do it manually for how often you would do one. So all the other tools, Xtools Plus, the CRM, Well Solver, are now all really embedded in iComply 2. I've got another question here, Ant. Do you want to save it? Do you want to move on while you've got it, or do you want me to read out the next question?
How relevant is it to the next steps?
Can Finley take data from other systems? Yeah, well, we can save it. You can play on.
We'll move on. Okay, so Finley's updated the Finley intake summary. So it's updated our SOA brief. I can now see a lot of the sections are ready. Finley may ask some more questions. I won't go and answer these. I won't go and answer these just for time. We'll move along. But Finley might go and ask you some further questions around, account details and deductions and so on. But okay, I'm going to click SOA workflow. All right. So what I've got here on the left-hand side is each of our sections of the SOA, which I work through. I use Finley Chat as the workspace, and then I can see my SOA rendering out on the right-hand side. All right. So I'm going to go to risk profile. It's picked up that we've got a gross risk profile, and it's rendered out the gross risk profile table. Scope of advice. I can see the scope of advice and limitations that have been written for me. At any time, I can use the Finley Chat and request Finley to update the scope of advice or the exclusions for me. So I just give instructions I want that to change. I might give you an example here. We've got our objectives, right? I've got 4 objectives there. I'm going to say just a simple one, please rewrite objective 1 to be a SMART goal for Sophie to purchase a new home valued at $1,200,000. Right? So again, Finley will go and find objective number 1. It will rewrite that as a SMART goal, update it here in the card, and then update our SOA objective. Purchase a home 1.2 mil, 2 to 4 years, right? So it's gone away and updated that objective for me. Once I'm happy with all the objective, I just click save, and then I can move on to my next section, right? So I've got Finley has drafted up 4 strategy recommendations for me, which I could review. I can look at the recommendation. It's drafted up the reasons, consequences, and alternatives for me. It's actually written these, based on the client's circumstances. So it's done some calculations for me. I would go and review these. Again, at any time, I can, if I want to, I can edit the recommendations in the input. I can ask Finley to redraft those recommendations for me. I can even ask Finley, so create an additional recommendation to salary sacrifice $1,000 per month to superannuation, right? So I can even go and ask Finley to go and create an additional recommendation, and then Finley will draft up that recommendation, the reasons, consequences, alternatives, and drop it into the SOA for me. So I can use that AI workspace to, do all the heavy lifting. What Finley's going to do here is I'll see a pop-up. So I'll see a pop-up. I've got the proposed recommendation, the client benefits, and the consequences and trade-offs. I can then click and apply those changes, and then I can then go and update or fix whatever you would want Finley to fix, right? So we go save, next. Product recommendations works exactly the same as strategy. So Finley's drafted up some product recommendations. I can ask Finley to create more, edit them, change them, whatever I want to do, right? I just do that within the workspace. Portfolio allocation. This is where the product recs scenario that we've uploaded to Finley. So product recs scenario gets uploaded. It extracts that all out and renders in my recommended holdings, my asset allocation, and my replacement analysis based on the product recs scenario. Again, I can use the Finley workspace to edit any of those inputs. If I wanted to fix it up, if I want to clean up any of the fees, I can do all that within Finley. All right. Next, so that's my replacement analysis. I'll save that. Next, insurance needs analysis. So Chris mentioned there about we don't have risk researcher within Finley. But if you were to go and upload an insurance needs analysis, probably that's what might be one where an Excel spreadsheet might work, or a document with written out needs analysis, Finley would go and pick that up. But I can also go and manually, I could go in and put in the needs analysis straight into Finley here and render that out to my SOA. So we do have that risk researcher ability to do a needs analysis and pull through recommended policies and render, pull that all into the SOA. So it's not quite like a module. You do all these sorts of things you do those modules within Finley itself. I'm just going to jump for a quick second and show you how projections work. So for those who use Xplan, you'll be familiar with Xtools Plus. In our projections section, I've now got a create projections button, right? Now this opens up the projections workspace, and I can import Sophie's fact find into my projections workspace. Now I can see in here this Sophie's scenario details. I can see cash flow, assets, liabilities have all been pulled through from the fact find, current super products, and then any pensions have get pulled through. I've just noticed that I can add a salary for Sophie, and I might put a retirement date at 6 and index it, right? Okay, cool. So I set up the current situation. I can then go and look at Sophie's personal cash flow, exactly like you would do in Xtools Plus. And I can even go and allocate my surplus cash flow to the inheritance, for example, right? So I can nominate where I want to allocate the surplus cash flow to which asset. I can see Sophie's assets and liabilities, pension accounts, super accounts, pension accounts, and then if Sophie gets age pension, I'll actually go and map out the age pension as well. So let's say I've set up the current situation. I could then go and copy that current situation to a recommended scenario, which would be purchase new home, right? So I've got a current situation, a recommended situation. I won't go and do it now, but you would go and build out your recommended situation. You can sell assets, you can add assets, you can roll super accounts over into pensions. You can then start to draw pensions, all the things that you'd be used to in an Xtools Plus type scenario, you can do inside this projections workspace. So I'll assume that that's been done, and I now want to go and pull through my recommended scenario back into my SOA, very similar to what we do in Xplan, and it's going to pull through the tables. So it'll pull through the current cash flow projections. It's going to pull through my assets and liabilities into the SOA, and render all that into our capital projections. Once I'm okay with that, actually, while I'm here, I will show you in the appendix, I'm going to have all my other tables and supporting documents inside the appendix as well. Okay. So almost there, fee disclosures, SOA fee disclosures. So it's picked up, we've got a plan preparation fee, an implementation fee, our Hub 2.4 fees, our ongoing fees have all pulled through. Again, I can update these at any time. I can, if I want to add insurance commissions, I can add an insurance commission into the table. $550, right? So I can put my upfront fees, my ongoing fees, and all the insurance commissions and consents and things are going to pull through. Lastly is our service agreements. So if I want to include a service agreement, I can do a fixed term or ongoing. It will pull that into the SOA. I can then add from the Hub 2.4 account. I'll put the account number in, and it's going to be $300 per month. And that will pull it into the SOA, right? And the last bit, the appendix. Once I'm done, so let's say I've cleaned up this SOA, I can actually go and choose what font, what colors. If I want to customize the table headings, I can go and customize my table headings and my text headings as well, and export this out to a Word doc.
Just on that, we will code your logos at the top by practice.
Yes, it will actually pull through. So in my dummy account, I don't have a logo, but it does actually. If you go into your user profile here and upload your logos, it will pull into the SOA.
So that's our SOA production available. We think it's pretty handy. Certainly, we've used it a couple of times. Certainly, it's a time saver. A couple of questions here, Anne. Can Finley take data from other systems like Work Sorted and Xplan, or other systems for fact finds, etc., or do we have to input direct into iComply 2 or as a Word doc?
Yeah, at this stage, it's an upload.
It's an upload. So if you've got a Work Sorted or an Xplan, you'll just upload that fact find. The client portal that we have, if it's a new client, you could send that out to them, and then the data would be in iComply 2 from the beginning. That's how I do it. Just for anyone that's interested, I don't run Xplan at all. Look, to be fair, I only have about 10 or 12 clients, so I'm not big on it, but I can certainly get around everything I need to do within iComply 2. Yeah, risk research is terrible. Okay, great. I'm glad I don't use that then. And go to some of the things we're working on. So ROAs, applications, we're on that home page there.
Yeah, so applications has been one that have been asked by a few advisors, being able to pre-populate the SOA into PDF applications. Now, the way I see that working, it's one of the ones we want to do pretty soon, is I would have another item underneath appendix here, which would be applications. And then, based on what has been picked or what Finley's done in our product recommendation section, is we could then, it would have Sophie, we know we want to roll over to a super product, right? And we could pull through all of Sophie's personal details and the rollovers and things into a PDF document, which would pre-populate that for signature. Another one that's been asked is, can I then go and create an implementation tasks? So I would have a list of tasks for the team to do, which then get to go and implement the advice. So they're two things that we've been flagged to work.
Well, just further on that, we have actually coded the application and tested the application function from the fact find, and it does work. It's just a matter of time now, which possibly only a week or two away at most, to have that function. But go back to the homepage where you can draft an ROA. I know we haven't actually actioned that at this point, but say you want to do an ROA, we've certainly got the functionality there.
So at the moment, it's sort of it's got a bit of I've got a placeholder to prepare an ROA. I would then use Finley to, I'd build out this exactly like we've got for the other documents, right? You'd prepare your ROA, and then I'd be asking Finley to upload the changes. If I've got a product recs report, so we want to move some funds around in a portfolio, I could upload my product recs report into Finley, and then Finley would render out all my tables, and then produce that ROA for me. So that's coming.
Yeah, that's coming, and I think it's also worth where we at on a data connection with not works ordered product recs.
No, so at the moment it's so I go in here and I go into integrations. I do have like a product recs integration configured. I've just got to pull through that data back into Finley. So like you do in IC2 at the moment, right? For those who use IC2 Clients app, you can actually go and connect into product recs, and you would authorize yourself with the intention that once you've created a scenario in product recs, you could then go and pull them in, directly. So you wouldn't have to upload it. You'd pull that directly into your SOA or ROA, whatever it may be. That'll just be an API data feed back in.
There's a question from Karen. If we're using Finley to produce the SOAs, do we need to run SOA through SARA for a compliance check? So we had that question yesterday as well. Yes, we still do, because Finley's not checking the regulations and the recommendations against the regs and the policies. So that would still occur. What we will do as a development list is, once the SOA is drafted, we'll have a button that you send it to SARA, and SARA will review it and come back and give you further inputs or an outcome on that return. So SARA is a different AI agent, different code.
Yeah, I know. I'll be looking to build a SARA 2.0 in time as well, with more of this technology.
So we open the floor to you guys. It's 1:43, which we were over an hour yesterday, so we've tried to reduce this down. We've whizzed through it a little bit. So your time to ask any questions if you want to put them in the chat here. From Benny, do the benefits and risks and consequences get generated by Finley, or is that something we need to put in?
No, it gets generated by Finley.
There you go, Benny, generated by Finley. Steve's typing a question for us. This looks amazing, guys. Very excited to get going on it. Well, thank you, Steve. It's our first cut, and we know there's so much more to do. And we want the pain points. We want the feedback. I'm not anywhere near as skilled as Andy, but we've got 2 developers, and even I'm starting to do a bit of bit of coding myself now on trying to fix things. In actual fact, this this does lead to where do you find, like, how are you going to find where to start with Finley? So Ant did produce. Do you want to go to the IC2 website, Ant? So we did produce already a how to, where to functionality, or not functionality, there's a read through at the moment, and I right at this minute deploying Finley and Sarah in the bottom of our learning hubs and in the IC2, where you can ask the question and it'll give you an answer. So why don't you just show that IC2 tips?
Yeah, so we've sort of we've revamped our iComply2 website. You will see in IC2 tips, I've done a Finley tips, right? Now, Finley tips is going to give you all the sort of the user guides on how to use Finley. So there's instructions there on completing an SOA in the Finley SOA workspace. That will take you through everything that I took you through today. Using the Finley AI console, again, same thing. It will take you through all the steps that I've gone through today on this webinar. Product Recs integration, how to use the projections workspace. That's all in there as well. Best practice. So we created a best practice when you're actually giving Finley instructions on what you want in your SOA. We've got a best practice there on writing an SOA request. And coming shortly is client portfolio data feeds. And so I was just showing that there. You'll be able to map. So we've got Desktop Broker we did yesterday afternoon. It's on my list to just go and test a few live ones. So that should be live today. Net Wealth, we've done all the testing on the drafting on Net Wealth. So I'm expecting Net Wealth to come through in the next week or so. You'd be able to map your Net Wealth client portfolios. And Hub 2.4, we're getting that done next cab off the rank.
And we've also requested FIG.
FIG is one.
Yeah, for fixed income.
For example, I just need to add the client ID and then the account ID from the platform, and I can map that to my client, partner, or joint, and then that will pull through the portfolios into here. Like anyone who uses an IPS, it's the same thing as an IPS.
We have a question from Richie. How does it go with establishing an SMFS? I can answer this one myself. It's no different to put your objectives in. It's just a standard SOA. Your objectives are going to be crucial on that, and then the policies overlay and what the strategy and what the recommendation is. So it's just straightforward, as though you were doing it in the Xplan wizard or the IC2 wizard. It's the same, only that the ability is you can use Finley to help draft your objectives. I use Finley or AI all the time now to improve my objectives. Practically the way I will do it is have the conversation, get the objectives. Maybe I go back and have a look at those objectives and then refine them, make them SMART goals, make them measurable, as you know, and then I might send that out as my engagement letter, saying these are the objectives that we discussed. This is in my engagement letter, or you can send it out as an email, as a file note, whatever you do. That's what I find is a good process, nailing down the objectives and then recommendations. We all know what our recommendations are, pretty much straight away of what you want to do with the situations, which is pretty straightforward. You can just type it straight into Finley here, and it'll draft it up and do the consequences, as Benny pointed out. So that's pretty straightforward for well, it doesn't matter what the strategy is. We think Finley can produce it. So one thing in that learning hub and the IOP learning hub and the IC2 tips for Finley, we are trying to improve that. It is a bit of a punish to have to go through trying to find what you're looking for product recs or something. So we're right in the middle of creating a little Finley and Sarah in the bottom corner, where you can just ask, how do I do this? Where do I find that? And you can see what we worked on yesterday. So you'll be able to just ask me, ask Sarah, ask Finley, and it will point you in the right directions. Ideally, we will have that functionality within Finley, our Finley AI went, so you can just ask Finley and it'll go and retrieve back into the IIP Learning Hub or back into the IC2 tips as a sidebar, or we'll push you over there. It says, question from Kylie, how do you go about saving the SMSF assets? Well, that's going to be saved in your client portal. So in the client portal, if you flick back there, Ant, you can put in your assets and liabilities, or the client's asset and liabilities there in that wizard on the left-hand side that you can see on the screen there. If you click down to assets, Ant, yeah.
I've created an SMS.
Created an SMS there. There's your and then
put
drop in your assets.
She's got a property in there, an investment property, and I'm going to say, spell that right, Kylie's Merriweather property, and that's cheap for Merriweather, but there you go. So it will know, it knows it's okay. So the owner is the SMSF.
Just to give, as we've got 9 minutes and then we've reached the hour. I know the meeting request is only for half hour. That was an error. But we did get questions yesterday, and we want to share it with you. In that, all of this AI has forced us to make we will need to make a price increase on the iComply 2 technology. With the AI we need to run, and particularly the Azure and database privacy that we have within our dealer group, that isn't free. And so we are experiencing much higher costs and we will continue to receive these higher costs as we just improve the AI along the way. So the question is, what would that price be? So we will need to apply that to a $600 per month user fee. However, we haven't yet distinguished, until we get the data and we know where we're at, we haven't yet distinguished if you've got multiple persons in your practice, whether that is a lower fee for the number that you have. And I think that would be likely the case. We just need the data to understand what our cost structure is going to be with this new AI, and as we keep building it out. But on the other side of that, you may want to consider, do you really, once you start playing with this, I think it came as a question quite early, do we need Xplan if we have iComply 2, and when do we cut it off? That's up to you. But we think we've got the functionality that can replace it today. Most certainly, the functionality is there. Will it get better? Absolutely. And we're committed to doing that. So we think there's a good opportunity for you to review what your costs are in Xplan and have a look at what they might be in IC2. We think, well, we don't think we know. I think the average advisor is going to spend somewhere around $1,150 in Xplan, and we think we can replace that for $600 as an advisor, as a single advisor.
Yeah. So it's probably even then 1,100 plus wizards. So yeah, it'd reduce it significantly. It's definitely the intention.
Doesn't look like we have any more questions. This is live, ready for you to play around with now. And we might have to send a post and provide the Finley link for you. Save it as a saved bookmark is what I'd suggest.
Yeah, I'll get the team. The team will send out a news item to everybody. We'll give you the Finley link. You can log in. My intention is that I'll get round to all the practices that want to use it, even as early adopters, making sure that the data's there. For those that want to potentially look at it, you know, once we play around and you're comfortable with the functionality of it and it's all working as you want, we can then look at extracting data out of Xplan and looking to upload it and so on. So I'll be reaching out to all the practices to see what your thoughts are and where you plan out what you want to do.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it open for just one more minute in case anyone's got any further questions. Georgia says thanks. Thanks, Georgia.
Thanks, Steve.
You should do, Richie says we should do more of these webinars when we change processes and policies. We'll take that on board. Yeah. We'll definitely take that on board, Richie. No problem at all. Well, I think that's a good time to close off for the day. As I opened, we're available. So if you need help, do reach out. We've got the resources available to help you. All right. Thanks for your time today, guys.
Very much. Righto. Bye.
See you next time.